in this KSBW Project Community special presentation.
It'll eat you alive if you ignore it.
Health experts sound the alarm as Central Coast diabetes numbers reach epidemic levels. The crisis hitting our Latino population especially hard.
I'm sitting in a hospital bed with a heart attack, and they're doing dialysis on me now, all within a week.
Tonight, the personal stories of those in the middle of the fight and what you can do to turn things around. This is Project Community. Diabetes, reversing the risk.
And welcome to this special Project Community presentation. I'm Erin Clark. Project Community is about shining a light on social justice, and one of the most widespread areas of racial inequality is health care. And there is no question the diabetes epidemic here on the Central Coast does disproportionately affect people of color, including our large Latino population. And the COVID crisis, that's just adding another complicated layer. These are the unforgettable images of COVID-19. Makeshift emergency rooms, long lines for testing, loved ones hospitalized, the lucky ones getting to go home, lives and livelihoods completely upended. COVID-19 is especially dangerous and deadly for people with underlying medical conditions. Steve Fyock is newly diagnosed with diabetes.
It's incredible that 1 in 4 of people over 65 have diabetes. I mean, that just blows me away. And now I'm one of them. I'm scared of the COVID, and now I'm in a different group than I was.
And in addition to the increased risk associated with COVID, San Benito County endocrinologist Michael Catella says the COVID crisis has made fighting diabetes even harder.
I've heard a lot of people saying I haven't been able to go to the gym because the gym's closed. I'm not exercising as much. They tend to have put on a few extra pounds because now they're home eating a little bit more. They're maybe working from remotely instead of going into work, and so they're more sedentary.
And none of that is good for diabetes patients. And this is a disease that is relentless. And if left unchecked, it will lead to disastrous consequences. So health experts like Dr. Catella say we have no choice but to deal with the COVID pandemic and the diabetes epidemic at the same time. And so that is what we are going to do for the next half hour. We're going to take a look at the disease, how to prevent it, exactly what it is. That's where we're going to start right now. Diabetes is a disease where blood glucose or blood sugar levels are too high. Insulin is the hormone that helps glucose get into our cells and give them energy. Now, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. The body does not make insulin. Type 1 is controlled with medications and insulin injections, as well as diet and exercise. Now, type 2 diabetes is far more common. In fact, 95% of people with diabetes have type 2. In this case, the body doesn't use insulin properly. It sometimes requires medication and insulin, but often it can be controlled with healthy eating and exercise. Type 2 stems from a combination of genetics and lifestyle factors. And well, this one is the really important one. Being overweight or obese increases risk tremendously. Many doctors say obesity and diabetes go hand in hand, and if left unchecked, the long-term complications are severe.
Diabetes is a problem where there's excess sugar in the blood, and when that sugar can't be utilized properly, it causes long-term complications. So diabetes is the leading cause of blindness in the United States. It can lead to amputations of toes, legs, feet, and also has been shown to be an accelerator for premature death, especially through cardiovascular disease.
And those cardiovascular complications landed John Ibarra in the hospital. We're going to have much more on his story in just a moment. But first, a closer look at the scope of the problem. And truly, the numbers are startling. An estimated 34 million Americans have diabetes, and 1 in 3, 88 million, are at risk of developing the disease. On the Central Coast, especially in Monterey and San Benito counties, the numbers are even higher. Close to 50% of the population has diabetes or prediabetes. And when you look at race and ethnicity, it's easy to see why those numbers are so high. We have a large Latino population. Here is the bar graph. They are disproportionately affected by this disease. John Ibarra is one of those people. He admits that initially he didn't take his diagnosis seriously, and he paid the price. Just a word of explanation. We started following John on his diabetes journey long before COVID, so masking and social distancing were not yet in place. John Ibarra is not shy talking about his diabetes. He wants to sound the alarm to all who will listen.
I was killing myself. And I thought that all these things that happen to diabetics will happen to somebody else. It ain't going to happen to me.
And that attitude cost him dearly.
This is Gabby Patton. I have to take 3 pills 4 times a day.
He is a man living with the devastating consequences of a disease left unchecked.
They opened me up like a butcher opens up a side of beef.
For John, the big wake-up call was a major heart attack in December of 2015, but that was just the beginning.
I ended up losing my leg as well, because the gangrene infected my blood, but the infection was also crawling up my leg in the bones. And they did a CAT scan on me, and they found out I had 4 veins that were plugged up, which was one of the reasons I was having a heart attack, and they had to do bypass surgery on me.
After 4 months in the hospital and rehab, John knew he had to change, had to take his meds, get some exercise, modify his diet.
Like these, I can't eat these no more. I mean, they're my favorite hot dogs, but not no more.
And his numbers did improve, but 2 weeks after we first met John, another setback.
So I'm just going to listen to your lungs and listen to your heart. Is that okay?
Sure.
After suffering a second heart attack, John ended up here at Salinas Valley Memorial Hospital. And even more bad news. John's kidneys had failed, leaving dialysis as the only option.
I'm having a hard time accepting that this happened to me. And it's kind of a bummer.
Understandably dejected, all John wanted to do was go home. But he also knew it would mean another lifestyle adjustment.
The bus is going to be here shortly.
3 days a week, he now has to travel from his home in Greenfield to a dialysis center in Soledad. Machines now doing what his kidneys cannot.
Buenos dias, maestro. How you doing, John? Doing all right, man. Believe it or not, because of the dialysis, I mean, I've noticed a lot of things that are very positive is that my blood pressure has leveled off, and my blood sugars are at 99 to 100 consistently now. So dialysis does help.
How you doing today, sir?
Doing all right. Another 4 hours in the chair, man. I'm the one that got myself into this mess to begin with, you know, and nobody told me to eat a dozen tamales in one sitting. You know?
John says he will fight the good fight for as long as he can, especially for his 5 kids and 5 grandkids.
I had to fight for them. I had to fight for myself.
John is often now a guest speaker at education and prevention classes and usually delivers his message in his native Spanish. He calls himself the poster child for what not to do when faced with a diabetes diagnosis. He now wants to help the newly diagnosed learn to manage their disease. Community outreach is so crucial to reaching the most vulnerable populations across the Central Coast, largely Latino, and that often requires taking health care to them.
I treat all my patients as if they're my family. With that, I want them to get the best care at all times.
Shayna Hampton-Milkey is a family nurse practitioner. A couple of times a week, she and her team pack up this mobile clinic, check supplies.
We actually use these to do in-house hemoglobin A1Cs for the diabetes.
And then they get ready to hit the road, taking health care to patients who otherwise might not get it.
And a lot of these people that don't have health insurance have chronic illnesses such as hypertension, diabetes, and high cholesterol. If not one, all 3 of those together, and not treated can lead to other serious illnesses.
Healthcare is very, very expensive. It's not easily accessible by everybody. And just being able to provide services to the community that wouldn't normally go to the doctor because they can't afford it or they don't know where to go.
For Juventino Martinez, the mobile clinic is the only place that he gets health care.
Ahora sí se puede mover.
And he found it almost by accident.
The truth is, I just saw the clinic and walked up to it and started asking questions, and now I'm getting treated.
And it turns out the mobile clinic is a lifeline for Juventino. With an out-of-control case of diabetes, he needs the care desperately. Shayna reviews lab results and prescribes medications that he can afford. There is also wound treatment, so important for diabetics, including a protective tetanus shot, and most importantly, education on how to deal with his diabetes.
Aquí donde dice gramos, so ponga atención este numerito. And after he leaves, we don't just let him go. So we follow up with him, make sure that he's connected to a resource. So like a diabetes management class, to make sure that he's okay and taken care of.
And that follow-up is critical. Healthcare systems across the region are recognizing the need in underserved communities.
Our institution, as well as the other healthcare systems, County Public Health Department and others, really being focused on the delivery of these services is critical, and that's where a lot of collaboration is taking place.
Fighting diabetes does require an all-hands-on-deck approach.
We're really trying to prevent these folks from having to go to the ER.
This is Montage Health's mobile clinic, pre-COVID, delivering care on the Monterey Peninsula. Natividad in Salinas and Dominican Hospital in Santa Cruz also operating mobile clinics, collectively reaching as many corners of the region as possible. And recognizing the need, several communities have also poured resources into dedicated diabetes centers. Hazel Hawkins Hospital's Berrigan Family Diabetes Center in Hollister opened just 2 years ago, the first of its kind in rural San Benito County.
And when I was young, my mother used to cook eggs with oil, and then as we've grown up, we've changed to the cooking spray and just different things,
Robert Solis loves to eat.
Okay. Lower than portions.
Yeah.
Those are so small, though, but it's gonna work.
and you can't have more than this.
Well, he is working on his portion control, but he says food is a big part of his Latino culture. As he puts it, we always want to invite people into the kitchen and not just the living room. Unfortunately, diabetes is also part of his heritage. He lost a brother to the disease, and now he's dealing with it too.
It's a life-threatening disease, and if I don't keep an eye on it, I'm just going to get worse and worse.
Robert admits his brother's death and his own complications were a wake-up call. Now he wishes he had listened earlier.
You want to be treated aggressively, particularly when you're young, because I know there's a large, between 18 and 39, I think that's the fastest growing section of people who are converting to diabetes and prediabetes. When they come in here, I tell them, I want to throw everything at this, including the kitchen sink. Because if we can control you early in your 20s, you're not going to have these severe complications in your 50s.
So now Robert comes here to the Diabetes Center regularly for treatment, support, and yes, accountability. Nutrition education is a big part of diabetes prevention. Montage Health's Kids Eat Right program looks to teach kids early. Pre-COVID, the program was in 70% of 4th and 5th grades in Monterey County, and they expect to be back at it after the pandemic is over. Type 2 diabetes used to be called adult onset diabetes, but is becoming more and more common in kids, mainly because of weight issues. Breaking that cycle early can prevent many complications later. Daniel Ornelas is a healthy and active 7-year-old, easily keeping up with his big sister on the playground. But that wasn't the case a year ago.
Daniel went on to his annual physical, and the doctor and the nurse noticed that there was a concern with his weight.
Daniel's parents know how prevalent diabetes is in the Hispanic community, and although Daniel didn't have it yet, they were worried. So on the advice of his doctors, Daniel's parents enrolled Daniel in classes with the Pediatric Wellness Program. And it was there that he learned all about healthy eating and exercise, and honestly, the transformation is amazing. The two side-by-side pictures tell the story. Daniel a year ago and Daniel today.
That's a huge difference. And I'm glad that I was able to help with that process.
Jeremy is Daniel's pediatric wellness coach, the person who taught him about nutrition and healthy habits.
We use the 5-2-1-0, and the 5 stands for 5 servings or more of fruits and vegetables, 2 hours or less of screen time, an hour or more of activity, and 0 sugary drinks.
For Daniel and his family, and it has been a family affair, it's been a transformation. Everyone is eating healthier.
Wasn't doing salads before, now he does salads, a lot of fruit. He eased off the tortillas that we so much love, and off the sweets, off the sugar. We go out to eat, no soda, water. So that has been his change.
At 7 years old, Daniel doesn't know much about diabetes or other health issues, but he does know he feels better.
Run faster, and I play sports better.
And for a budding young athlete, that's as good a motivator as any.
Coming up, the recipe for living a long and healthy life.
We could just get America eating Blue Zone's simple peasant food that tastes delicious. We solve most of the diabetes problem.
The Blue Zones project comes to the Central Coast. And cooking up some healthy fare for the holidays that will not disappoint in the taste department when we come back.
And welcome back to Project Community, Diabetes Reversing the Risk. Project Community is about shining a light on social justice, and one of the most widespread areas of racial inequality is health care. The Blue Zones Project is a health and wellness campaign brought to Monterey County by Salinas Valley Memorial Healthcare System and Montage Health. Inspired by a National Geographic explorer and his quest to find the places around the world where people live long and healthy lives, well, the lessons learned now provide a foundation for healthier communities across the country and here on the Central Coast.
People in Blue Zones, they're eating mostly a plant-based diet. They're nudged into moving every 20 minutes, so they move naturally because their lives are underpinned with purpose. They're surrounded by the right tribe of people, plant-based people whose idea of recreation is moving, and they live in a city or a community where the healthy choice is the easy choice.
In a nutshell, that's the Blue Zones blueprint. Follow those guidelines and your chances of living a long and healthy life are much improved. And it also applies to the fight against diabetes. Salinas Valley Healthcare System and Montage Health are spearheading the movement here.
When Salinas Valley brought the idea of Blue Zones to us, it was a natural fit to the work that we were already doing together. Those of us in healthcare know that really the better way to deliver healthcare is to help people stay healthy, to support people in getting healthcare in the right places at the right time and not waiting until they're walking into the emergency room.
Creating environments where it's easy to make the healthy choice is a long-term community investment, and the Blue Zones team is making strides even during the COVID pandemic, getting restaurants to sign up and offer healthy meal options, educational outreach, community commitments for things like bike paths, getting corporations involved too. The founder of Blue Zones, before COVID hit, had traveled to the Central Coast 5 times, preaching patience, perseverance, and the power of a community working together for a common goal, better overall health, and specifically here, winning the diabetes battle, making it easy for people to make the right choice.
The idea gets acculturated slowly, but once it does, when you have the tanker, moving at 20, 30, 40 miles an hour, then it's unstoppable. It takes a lot of energy to get the tanker moving, though.
So let's get that tanker moving. Nutrition is key to diabetes management. We are, of course, in the middle of the holiday season, and there are a lot of temptations out there. But with a little creativity, you can still enjoy delicious food that's healthy. Jason Giles is an award-winning chef. His day job is developing and making nutritious meals for patients and staff at Salinas Valley Memorial. But in his everyday life, it's personal.
I've been diabetic for 30 years, and type 1 diabetes, and I've had to learn to adjust what I do to stay healthy. Today I'm using fresh sweet potatoes or garnet yams, and you roast them, you peel them, and you use them in their natural form, and they're just really nice. We're going to make a relish, a cranberry relish to go over the top of them. And if they look like they get a little dark on one side, it's not a big deal. It's roasted potatoes. It's just adding a little bit of caramelization and sweetness to it. And this is the quick part here. We're just going to slice the potatoes about 1/4 of an inch thick, and then you just shingle them into the pan. Eating isn't just about putting food in our bellies. Eating is about sensations. As a chef for years, I've always tried to make sure that I have a balance of texture. So I want crunchy, but I also want creamy, and I want sweet, but I also want tart, and I want a little acidic, and I want a little sour. And I've toasted these already. Okay. So these have been toasted and cooled down, and then we're going to add them to the relish here. And then we're going to do a little bit of fresh parsley. If they're doing maybe roasted turkey, or if they're doing a roast chicken or something like that, this is something that's going to just really complement that kind of a meal. I'm going to take a little pinch of kosher salt. Again, not a lot. My dietitians are watching me. And then a touch of olive oil. And mix this together. You're just going to spoon this relish right over the top of the sweet potatoes. So we're going to go ahead and slide this into the oven and get this warmed up for about 20 minutes. Farro is a wheat grain. It has extra hulls on the outside of it. So when you're talking about trying to add more whole grains to your diet, this is one way to do it. So we're going to go ahead and get it going here with a little bit of a saute. And then we're going to start off with our mirepoix vegetable. This is carrots, onions, and celery diced. So we're going to add some cremini mushrooms. Again, I want to touch of sweetness to offset all the earthiness that I'm doing with the grain and with the mushrooms and what have you. And green apple will also give me a little bit of texture in there. It should be really nice. We're going to go ahead and add in our farro. Again, as I mentioned, this was pre-cooked and drained. Right. And then we just cooled it off, and you can keep it in a container in the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days.
Oh, you can. So
yeah.
You can do that ahead of time.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. Enjoy this dish here is a complete vegan dish, and it still has the protein in it that we need. This has a beautiful colors of fall in it as well, with all the browns and the oranges. The flavors that come out of the earth in our vegetables and in all the ingredients that we use, there's so much intrigue and interest in those kinds of products. You really have to just learn how to play with them and have fun with them. See if I did okay with it this time.
Delicious. Look for the recipes on our website, ksbw.com.
Coming up, our conversation with Dr. Oz pre-COVID, why he thinks diabetes is reaching epidemic proportions here on the Central Coast, and what we can do to prevent it. And some success stories from people putting in the hard work and seeing the results when we come back.
There are many community resources available to help diabetics and their families. This is just a short list. Go to our website, ksbw.com, for a much longer list where you can find the help you need. Education is key to this fight. And before the COVID pandemic, I had a chance to talk with Dr. Oz about the diabetes epidemic here.
Across the country, about 1/3 of people are pre-diabetic or diabetic. Here it's half.
Right.
And if you're getting into actual diabetes, which is roughly 1 in 11 around the country, here's 1 in 8. So these are gargantuan numbers, not just for your loss of life, but they also drive a lot of costs in the system, which someone's going to pay for, which is pretty much us.
Right. The good news about diabetes, particularly type 2 diabetes, which the vast majority of people with diabetes or pre-diabetes are type 2, it's preventable. There is something we all can do to make sure that this doesn't become part of our lives.
When I launched my show 11 years ago, and I had been doing shows with Oprah for 6-7 years before that, but I still at the time thought most people realized what you just said was true, which is if you're going to get rid of diabetes, just eat differently. They didn't. We would do survey after survey after survey revealing people didn't really believe it. They'd heard it, but they didn't believe it. So let me reiterate this, because I think we're getting most of America to grasp this. If you eat the right things, the overwhelming number of people will be able to dramatically reduce their diabetes medications and risk, many of them getting off all medications. And again, it's not just for people who are already on insulin. I'm talking about everyone who's getting a little bit of belly fat, just moving up their blood sugar, sort of nudging their ways towards diabetes. If you're a candy bar away from diabetes, please deal with it, because the consequences aren't just the ones you're thinking about. It's not just a little bit of sugar in your blood. It's renal failure. So you're on dialysis all the time. Number one reason diabetics die is heart disease, my specialty. You don't want that, not much fun. Strokes, impotence, you even get wrinkles. All the reasons you don't want to have diabetes are quickly summarized, and you can do so much to prevent it, and it's not quite the same if I give you a drug. Because giving you medications for diabetes is like painting cracks in the foundation of your health. If you do it yourself, you actually build a new foundation, so you won't suffer the consequences of that.
And through hard work, many people are rebuilding the foundation of their own health, just as Dr. Oz talked about. Aranza Ortega, she was just 18 years old when she was diagnosed with diabetes. Her blood sugar levels were dangerously high. She worked hard, and now they're within a normal range. Another success story, Tom McCrae. Diabetes runs in his family, so he knew he had to take it seriously through education classes. He learned that he didn't have to change everything to get healthier. He just needed to make better choices. He did. He lost 60 pounds, and now his blood sugar levels are within normal ranges. John Ibarra, the diabetes patient that we met at the beginning of our special. With a lot of hard work, he too has had success.
Life has gotten better. I've lost a lot of weight. The first time we met, I was weighed a little over 200 pounds. I now weigh 168 pounds. And my consumption for insulin is almost nil now. So there are health benefits to maintaining a proper weight.
Let me take some pounds off here.
Sure. And another big change for John, he has replaced traditional dialysis for at-home treatments known as peritoneal dialysis, which uses a membrane in the abdomen to filter out toxins to do the work the kidneys can no longer do.
You put a catheter in there, you put the solution, dialysis solution, and you let it dwell in there so it sucks out all the toxins and you drain it out.
It is more complicated than it sounds, and the process takes hours every day. But it does save John trips to the dialysis center 3 times a week. At this point in his life, there is no question John spends most of his time and energy managing his disease. But he says it's worth it for his family.
I want to see my grandkids and my children progress more in life. I don't want my kids or my grandkids or anybody's offsprings to go through what I've been through.
Las personas bajo mucho estrés y que usualmente no se cuidan bien.
And for that reason, John continues to tell his cautionary tale at educational classes like this one, especially through the pandemic. He doesn't want anyone to forget about diabetes. His message is simple. There is hope if you take the disease seriously.
I asked the doctor, well, if I get everything under control, how much time do I have? And he goes, well, an easy 10 years. He goes, well, I'm about 4 years into those 10 years, you know, and I think we can push it a little further back, you know, so, and that's my attitude, you know, just got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. Simple words of wisdom, but John and many others are examples of what is possible when we commit ourselves to our own health. Please visit KSBW.com for more on the diabetes epidemic and the resources available. Thanks so much for watching. Happy holidays and stay well.